me up a warm bed, would you?
Welcome, dear viewers, to CouchWarrior TV on YouTube. I am the CouchWarrior, and you are watching Arcana, a Skyrim Let's Play. Welcome back to the story. We are in Chapter 8, Part 7. As is apparent, Fleet has brought down another dragon. This is dragon number 3 for Fleet, I believe. And I'm really enjoying the extra color that these dragons are adding to our story.
Still here.
So far, Fleet has proven to be a pretty effective dragon fighter, although we are still fighting pretty low-level dragons. I am experimenting with some mods that will actually make dragon fights a little bit more challenging. I'm still playtesting it right now, but as soon as I'm ready, I will be putting that into play, assuming it all shakes out fine. And that will just kind of tweak the dragon's AI. If there's more than one dragon in an area, they'll coordinate their attacks. It's all bad for us, ladies and gentlemen. But dragons are smart. So dragons should be one of the most difficult things to fight in the game. And when they're not, something needs to change. There are also some mods that have an impact on all of the enemy's AI. I'm considering those as well. To me, that seems like a great alternative to simply just bumping the difficulty from Master up to Legendary. I would almost rather stay at Master level and use some mods to make the enemies a bit more intelligent. So, we'll see what happens. Okay, so if you remember, in the last episode, we took care of a whole bunch of things in Riften. Among those things were getting Carlia into the Thieves Guild, and uncovering Mercer Frey's betrayal of the guild. In the last episode, we went through his home, discovered what his plans were, and now we are meeting Brynjolf and Carlia here at the secret hideout of the Nightingales.
I'm glad you're here. This is the headquarters of the Nightingales, cut into the mountainside by the first of our kind. We've come to seek the edge we need to defeat Mercer Frey.
What kind of edge?
If you'll follow me, I'll try to explain on the way. Gallus,
Tell me about the Nightingales.
Mercer Frey and I were once members of what's known as the Nightingale Trinity. The Trinity disbanded 25 years ago when Mercer Frey betrayed us by slaying Gallus and dumping his body in the ruins of Snowvale Sanctum.
Were they part of the Thieves Guild?
The Trinity is usually selected from the ranks of the Guild, although its existence is a closely guarded secret.
What is their purpose?
The Nightingales protect the Temple of Nocturnal, a place known as the Twilight Sepulchre. She's
Who
the
is
mistress
Nocturnal?
of night and darkness, and the patron of every thief in Tamriel.
I never met a thief that worshipped anything.
Nocturnal isn't one for worship and reverence. There are no priests and no sermons, no services, and no alms. She influences our luck, and in return, demands payment.
Sounds like a guild contract.
You're closer to understanding than you realize. The only difference is she doesn't demand payment in the traditional sense, and sometimes the cost can be quite high. Whether you know it or not, Nocturnal dictates how well we perform as rogues.
I have my skill, not powers or magic.
You have to think differently. Haven't you ever noticed how our luck behaves? Like a novice picking an impossible lock, or a blind man suddenly turning to face you as you reach for his pocket. It's through these subtle means that Nocturnal influences us.
Sounds like he just likes us to suffer.
Nocturnal's whim is the greatest mystery to everyone. There have been volumes written on the subject. Does she exact payment when we die? When we suffer? Does she revel in our misery? No one knows. The return certainly seems worth the risk, though. From the moment you were struck with my poisoned arrow at Snowvale Sanctum, my path changed its course. Perhaps I couldn't bring Mercer back alive, but together we were able to clear my name and to put Gallus's memory to rest. I'd always intended Mercer's fate to ultimately be decided by the Guild, and it seems they've spoken.
Am I to become a Nightingale?
You might hope that you will, yes. This way, please.
All right, we know a little bit more about the Nightingales now. We're slowly acquiring information. We know that this is a business contract, but we don't know what our payment is. Fleet won't agree to anything unless he knows what the exact terms are. So it's obvious that we have more information to gather before we can make a decision.
But I never believed it existed.
The assumption that the Nightingales were just a myth was seeded within the Guild on purpose. It helped divert attention from our true nature. What's wrong, Bryn?
I'm going to leave the followers here.
Most hear your brow furrowing.
I'm trying to understand why I'm here, lass. I'm no priest, and I'm certainly not religious. Why pick me?
This isn't about religion, Brynjolf. It's business.
It's interesting how she characterizes this relationship.
This
She
is
calls it a
Nightingale
business
Hall.
relationship.
You're the first of the uninitiated to set foot inside in over a century. Now, if you'll both proceed to the armory to don your Nightingale armor, we can begin the oath.
This is enough to make your head spin, eh?
She characterizes it as a business relationship, but there's much more at stake here
I think we
than
should trust the lass and take the deal.
money.
This is enough to make your head spin, eh? Time's wasting, and Mercer's still out there. Let's get this show on the road.
You appear hesitant to don your Nightingale armor. What's troubling you?
Fleet is hesitant.
I think we should trust the lass and take the deal.
Brynjolf has obviously made up his mind.
I think we should trust the lass and take the deal.
You appear hesitant to don your Nightingale armor. What's troubling you?
I think we should trust the lass and take the deal.
You appear hesitant to don your Nightingale armor. What's troubling you?
We'll take the armor. Okay, the next step in this quest requires us to equip the Nightingale armor. So we will do that. Fleet is going to let them go ahead down the corridor. He needs a moment to put this armor on and reflect on what all of this might mean. He doesn't want to be rushed into making a decision. And he still doesn't have enough information to really decide what his course of action is going to be here. What we do know is that Nocturnal is considered a Daedric prince. We know that the Daedric princes have a long and storied history of meddling in the affairs of humans and elves alike, and trafficking in souls, looking for followers, manipulating. So there's a lot more we need to know here. So we'll see what this oath is all about.
Okay, lass. We've got these get-ups on. Now what?
Beyond this gate is the first step in becoming a Nightingale.
Whoa there, lass. I appreciate the armor, but becoming a Nightingale? That was never discussed.
To hold any hope of defeating Mercer, we must have Nocturnal at our backs. If she's to accept you as one of her own, an arrangement must be struck.
What sort of arrangement? I need to know the terms.
The terms are quite simple, Brynjolf. Nocturnal will allow you to become a Nightingale and use your abilities for whatever you wish. And in return, both in life and in death, you must serve as a guardian of the Twilight Sepulchre.
Aye, there's always a catch. But at this point, I suppose there isn't much to lose. If it means the end of Mercer Frey, you can count me in.
There's everything to lose.
Are you ready to transact the oath with Nocturnal?
I'm not sure I understand the
By
terms.
transacting the oath with Nocturnal, you're entering into a business deal. You'll be provided all of the power and knowledge befitting a Nightingale. You're free to use those powers as you see fit, to further your own goals, or the goals of the Thieves' Guild.
And in return?
In return, you'll be required to defend the Twilight Sepulchre and everything within when the need arises. More importantly, upon your death, your spirit will be bound to the Twilight Sepulchre as one of its guardians.
There's no going back?
Once the oath has been struck, the terms are binding. Knowing this, are you ready to undergo the ceremony?
You're someone who can get things done. I like that.
Welcome back, everybody. As you can see, Fleet has made the decision not to join the Nightingales. There are a few reasons for this. The chief reason, of course, is that upon his death, his spirit would be turned over to Nocturnal, as per the terms of the contract. That would be the price that he would pay in exchange for the powers that she would grant him in this life. And as we all know, Fleet is a devoutly religious man, completely committed to Sithis. Allowing some other entity to take possession of his soul upon his death would be out of the question. Out of the question. And Fleet is, I think, slowly changing his mind about the trustworthiness of Carlia. Up to this point, he's been relatively confident that she had, his best interest, the guild's best interest at heart. But he doesn't buy this argument that the only way that they're going to catch or kill Mercer Frey is with the assistance of Nocturnal. Fleet's journal. The pounding in my head had become so intense I couldn't stay in the saddle a moment longer. Still centered around my right eye, the pain came in brilliant flashes. Each time I clamped my eyes shut, as if closing my mind from the world around me might stem the oncoming rush of agony. It was in these moments that pictures formed inside my head. Ancient stone arches rising from the earth. What was this place? Am I to go to this place? I had seen visions before, but never like this. These images were like the sensations of another. I felt apart from myself in these moments, until the pain rushed back in a crippling flood. Then I saw them,
What was that?
the stone arches just off the path, just as they had been in my mind. Sithis was calling me to this place, but why? This was clearly a Dwemer ruin. Again, Sithis calls me to a forgotten city of a lost race. It was all I could do to stay on my horse. When we finally stopped, I ordered Lydia and Nefei to make camp and wait for me here. Do not pursue me, I said. I turned and ran up the stone ramp as quickly as my body would allow.
Entrance to a dwarven city.
I could feel my
All
mind
manner of
shutting
strange
down.
traps and machines will be
I did
inside.
not want to falter in front of them. I awoke, lying on my back on a wide stone platform. Freezing rain pelted my face. I was soaked to the bone. I pulled myself up and crawled on my hands and knees to what looked like a tunnel entrance. I heard voices. Were these in my head as well? No, these were not in my head. These were real and ghostly. There was a light at the far end of the tunnel. It was almost amusing. What an apt metaphor for my current situation, as I thought I might die at any moment. Perhaps I already was. The tunnel opened to a large chamber. There, in the center of the cavern, stood 4 spirits. At least, I think they were. My vision was distorted, and the light seemed too bright. The spirits quickly vanished, and I jumped down into the chamber below. I knew I could not continue like this, but Sithis had called me to this place. Something important needed to happen here, and I must be prepared. At that moment, I did the only thing I could. I found the calm center and prayed to Sithis for guidance. I began to leave the pain behind, and in the quiet recesses of my mind, a decision was made. I slowly reached up and pulled the patch from my eye. As I pulled back the black leather that had so long covered my mutilated features, it was like pulling the cork from a bottle, and the pressure in my head rushed out into the dead air of the cavern, restoring my mind and washing away the terrible pain. Well, here we are, inside another Dwemer ruin. This one, of course, we are prepared for. A very, very long time ago, when Fleet was still at a very low level. In fact, on his very first trip to Riften. He found an Argonian wandering the docks, and took from her a Dwemer object that was called the Lexicon, and he has had that in his inventory forever. He's about to discover what he can do with that. But there's more going on here than just recovering the Lexicon. Sithis has called him here for some reason, and that reason has to do with the evolution of Fleet as a character. The next stage in his evolution as Cimmerian. Now, I don't think we're going to make it all the way through in this episode, so I'm going to split this thing in half. This one will come in at about 35 minutes, and I'm guessing that the second half will probably be about the same, would be my guess. But we haven't done a lot of crawls with Fleet of Dwemer Ruins, so this should be fun. Now, one thing that's really great about this particular side quest is that if you do return the Lexicon and complete this quest line, you get a bonus that impacts how quickly you level your smithing skills, which will be great for Fleet at this particular time because we are still fairly low. I mean, I would say we're somewhere just over 50, I think, in smithing. So we have a ways to go before we hit the really high numbers. And that bonus on our smithing levels will really, really help in a lot of different ways. It'll help us, obviously, bring our smithing levels up, but that'll bring our character levels up and allow us to get to some of those perks we want a little bit quicker. So I'm pretty excited about that. And again, this is one of those that I had wanted to kind of fit in for a long time. We've had the Lexicon in our inventory since really early on, probably chapter 2 of the story. So it's about time to wrap this thing up, I'd say. But there's more to this quest than meets the eye. There's the obvious return of the Lexicon, but there's some other reason, some specific reason that Sithis has guided him here. And we will find out exactly what that is in the next episode. Now, the other great thing about Dwemer Ruins, of course, is usually they're just loaded with loot. And in particular, soul gems. We don't necessarily need high-powered soul gems. Here's another one. What we're really looking for is, you know, lesser common and petty soul gems that we can use, you know, to bring up some of our enchanting levels. That'll be good. But, you know, usually there's a lot of gems and things like that too, so we can certainly use the cash. Always. Well, I want to thank you all for joining me once again and for all your kind comments. We are really beginning to pick up some major velocity in not only the story itself, but in the number of subscriptions, the number of views. It's really been gratifying, and I'm excited about where the story is going. I'm really loving all the input I'm getting from folks. So please feel free to chime in. Keep it up. And if you have a friend who you think would like this sort of storytelling, send them a link. Do me a favor and send them a link. Here we go. There's a couple soul gems right there. Alright, let's get in here. There's a chest in there. Fleet is going to pick this lock. Come on now. Come on. There we go. I actually like the lock-picking mechanic a little bit better on the console. That's where you have that advantage of the force feedback in the controller, where when you hit certain points in the lock, when you hit resistance, the controller actually vibrates, and depending on how much pressure you're putting on the pick, the vibrations are more intense. So you really get that sort of tactile feeling of picking a lock. It's pretty cool. I had to get used to it on the PC. It wasn't... it was a little hard at first, so... Okay, let's pick this guy off. Sneak up to 96. 100% organic sneak leveling. No exploits on that one. Okay, now, where do we go from here? We're going to try and pick these guys off from up here. Let them get too close. There's a bunch of them down there. Okay. Here's our ramp. Try to keep them off the ramp. Wow. One left. I think he's on to us. Okay, I'm going to change position here. Yeah, he's coming up the ramp. He's right below me. Come on, man. I'm going to try to put him back down here. There he goes. Oh, he's coming back. He's seen us now. Alright, he's coming to get us. Let's let him come. Let him get up here and we're going to drop. Okay, we got one more drop to escape. There's one in him. That hurt him a little bit. Okay, we drop again. Get some more distance. We got to get him this time. There we go. That's one of my favorite tactics. Find that little drop-off. The enemies are almost never will follow you off the side. They're gonna find the ramp. They're gonna look for the stairs. They're gonna look for the ladder. That buys you time to actually get into a position for a follow-up shot. And that's exactly what we did there. We had a nice kind of step downward that worked in our favor. So always looking for opportunities like that to use the terrain. Okay, it's so freaking dark. I should probably be using a spell here. Oh yeah. Alright. I think I just got stabbed. Yeah, look at that. Damn. Yeah, Lightfoot perk doesn't help you too much on Dwemer traps, that's for sure. The Dwemer don't do a lot of stuff that's sort of based on pressure plates. A lot of their traps are things you just flat out cannot avoid. They're sort of motion sensitive, or they're tied to doors. No way to disable them, so. And they're particularly deadly. Look at all that good stuff. I don't need that. That's heavy. So Fleet had an interesting experience. He made the decision, during a brief moment of clarity, to try removing the patch from his eye, and the pain subsided. Now, I am not saying that that means the patch will always be removed. It just means that there are times when someone, something, some entity is trying to communicate with him, trying to push visions into his head that are important. And in those moments,
Waiting for what?
revealing that eye somehow allows him to see things that others
Best get rid
can't.
of the ones we see, just in case.
And I'm still kind of formulating what all of this means in the long term. But in the same way that he evolves as a character, and he kind of changes up his outfits based on where he is in his story, the situation with his eye and how that works and what it means to him spiritually is going to be evolving as well. And that brings us to the end of another episode. I want to thank you for taking the journey with me. And until next time, may all that you do be swift, silent, and deadly. And to all Skyrim assassins, I salute you. Silence is our battle cry. You've been watching Aranis Arcana, a Skyrim Let's Play. If you liked this video, please rate, like, and subscribe. For more information on this and other CouchWarrior broadcasts, visit me on the web at www.couchwarrior.tv.